Welcome to Planet People, a podcast that aims to inspire curiosity and cultivate a deeper connection with the natural world.
We are thrilled to be sharing stories with you that highlight the beauty and importance of protecting our planet's wildlife.
Be sure to follow us on social media and your favorite podcast streaming platform so that you never miss an episode. Hey, Planet People, and welcome back to this unique short episode we have. Coral and I were recently a part of San Diego Climate Week, which was October 1st through October 8th. And during that week, we were offered the opportunity to host our very first nature walk with Planet People, and it was just the ripe timing. As you all know, Jane Goodall passed away on October 1st. And so a week later, we were able to honor her through this amazing bird walk. And I was so happy that Coral came down to join from LA, along with Ava Stark, another one of our team members.
Yeah, I was so happy to come down. It was such a wonderful day and obviously so great to see you. And apparently the weather had not been amazing in San Diego that week, but the sun shined for us that day. And it was just ended up being like the perfect event. And we want to do so many in-person events. And this was our first one. It was kind of like a trial run, and I think it went really well. And I hope that everyone that got to join also thought so. We did a brief meditation in the beginning, and then we did a bird walk where Natalie was the naturalist, and she answered all of the questions, pointed out so many amazing birds. We got to see some seals, some sea lions. It was truly just a fantastic day, and we had some amazing partners. The San Diego Bird Alliance was so wonderful to us and gave us some binoculars that everyone could use.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out SDMBA. Or SDBA, San Diego Bird Alliance. SDBA is the acronym. And they sponsored us basically with those binoculars, which was super helpful. And the bird guides, they also had bird guides for us, which was very useful during the walk, I thought.
Thank you so much, San Diego Bird Alliance, for all of your help with that day. It was definitely a hit. And we wanted to share a little bit of the event with you guys. This is, like Natalie said, a unique episode. Because we actually recorded ourselves for the meditation and the walk itself. But we won't take you along with the walk since you obviously can't see the birds that we did. But we thought it would be a great idea to give you our meditation that we did and then encourage you to go on a bird walk yourself. So I would highly recommend, if you're listening to this on your commute, maybe saving this episode for a little bit later when you can be outside. And if there's a nice patch of grass, or if you go to a park, maybe sitting down and listening to the meditation that Natalie so kindly led and going on a bird walk yourself. Little encouraging moment to get yourself out in nature.
Just connect, root through the earth, and really bring your senses alive. That was the main takeaway, I think, from the meditation, was just lighting up your senses, letting the wind blow, have your ears open to all the bird sounds, the ocean sounds. So I hope you guys enjoy this little version of that. And like Coral said, just find a nice patch of grass and tune in.
Yeah, and if you're not near an ocean, no worries. I'm sure that there's beautiful sounds. If you're in a fall landscape, some crunching of leaves, just focus in on, I know
that.
We're in SoCal, so we don't get that, but we're jealous of all of you that do. And do you have any tips for people that are going to lean into this little episode and go on their own bird walk? Like, do you have any tips and tricks and advice for people that may not do that on a normal basis?
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for asking. I think to lean into this, I highly recommend sitting outside under a tree in the sun and taking in the meditation. And once you have really, like I said, ignited those senses: taste, touch, smell, feeling the earth, hearing the wind and the birds, feeling the wind on your face and the sun on your face, then can you really begin to observe the natural world, observe the birds and the bees. And that's why I think bird watching is a great form of meditation, and starting with kind of that silent sitting before you actually begin bird watching can really prepare the mind well for honing in on those natural sounds and colors that you start to ignite while you're in meditation. And so after you've done, your seated meditation and you're listening to what's ahead of you, then you can begin the bird walk. And I recommend perhaps, if you like to use phone applications, you can download the Merlin Bird app, which is a great tool to use if you're new to bird watching, because you can actually use it to identify the sounds around you. And then you can ID birds that way and get more familiar with them by sight. So on the app, you can see a photo of the bird when it picks up the audio. And so then you can kind of pair the audio with your own visual cues. And if you have binoculars, great. I highly recommend getting a pair, but they're not always the most accessible tool. So if you have a phone, that might be easier, and then you can just use your eyes. I don't actually think you need anything to really get out there and go bird watching, just your own 2 feet and your ears and your eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it's really whatever you want it to be. You can bring a notebook and jot down some of the birds that you see, or just use it as an excuse to just go on a nice walk, and hopefully you see a bird or two, or many, hopefully.
I actually love that. You mentioned using a journal and a notebook, because that's something that a lot of biologists will do in the field when they start their day. They'll write the temperature, the start time, the cloudiness, just the basic observations of your walk. And that's even a hopeful act. That's taking it the next step beyond just bird watching. Is if you're writing it down, then you're even more connected to it. And it's like this positive feedback loop, because you're remembering what you saw. And then maybe some doodles begin. Coral, I know you are a fantastic, observer and artist of nature. So you always have your little, watercolor pens on you and notebooks and things like that. So
Yeah, it's fun. If you are artistic, and even if you're not, it's fun to doodle outside, that's for sure.
yeah.
And then another thing at the end of this episode, we just included the end of our walk where Natalie kind of speaks a little bit about birds and yeah, just the environmental concerns around them. And so something to also take in while you're on your bird walk to appreciate them a little bit more.
Totally. And I think, the end of this discussion loops back to the beginning, right, where we talk a little bit about climate change and how that's affecting birds. And the main takeaway is really that birds are an indicator species for how healthy the ecosystem is, or perhaps how unhealthy the ecosystem is. So if you hear a silent landscape when you walk outside, then there's probably something not right. You want to hear the birds. You want to hear the birds. And that's really, going back to what you were saying, Coral, appreciate them a little bit more today.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Next week, we will have a very fun episode that is also a little bit different, but goes back to our desert series. But we hope you enjoy this meditation, and we hope that you take your own bird walk, maybe bring a friend as well, because that's fun too. But also solo time in nature, there's nothing quite like it. So we hope you enjoy.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming today. We'll get started in a seated meditation. You can crisscross applesauce, really ground into your sit bones, or if sitting on your knees is more comfortable for you, that's also an option. I invite you guys to gently close your eyes if that feels comfortable to you. Or you can keep them open, whatever works. Just take a moment here to sit and relax your shoulders. Maybe remove your tongue from the top of your mouth. Release the tension in your body from the day. And start to root through nature, through the ground beneath you. Feel the life support that is moving through you and through the earth. To help prepare for the bird walk today, we'll really begin to heighten our senses through our sound, touch, smell. Let yourself feel the wind on your face and the crashing of the ocean. These are the natural soundscapes that give us energy, give us presence, which will be very important today as we move through our fun bird walk. Just take a moment to breathe naturally here. Breathing in the saltwater air and letting it all go through your mouth. Inhale through the nose, gentle exhale through the mouth. Take a few more breaths just like that. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Just welcoming the stillness of your body and your mind. The point of meditation is to not completely quiet the thoughts, but to allow the natural fluctuations and flow of them, easing in and out, just like the waves and the wind all around us. And I invite you to root your palms through the earth. Really feel the grass beneath your hands. Just let that sit with you for a moment. This earthly energy is our life force. And it's the same life force that guides birds, bees and butterflies, and all the fun animals we'll see today. Take another inhale through the nose, and an audible exhale through the mouth. Begin to flutter your eyes open if they're not already, for a good morning stretch, sweeping your arms up to the sky. And exhale, side body twist to the right, bringing your right arm behind you and your left hand to your right knee. And inhale, come back to center. And exhale, switch sides. Just some simple twists here before we get started on our walk. And inhale, back to center. And exhale to switch sides. Find a few more movements like that on your own here. Inhale, back to center. And exhale to switch sides. Just a quick little stretch to get going here. How does everybody feel? Present? Good.
Do you mind if I
Go for
say
it.
a few things? Yeah. Well, we kind of already went around the circle and introduced ourselves and had an icebreaker. I want to say officially thank you guys all for coming to this event. This is technically like our first Planet People event. And if you don't know, Natalie and I have a podcast all about conservation. Our first season is about ocean conservation here in Southern California. And our second season that we're in right now is all about desert conservation. And it kind of follows Natalie's journey as a conservation biologist. And so we want to be in person and connect not only to nature, but with the people in it. And that's why it's called Planet People. And it all goes back to Natalie's master's studies. And so this is what we're here and excited to like bring forth to everyone, and hope that we can build a community that feels seen and heard, and also sees the planet and hears the planet, just as we were doing in this beautiful meditation. So thank you so much for guiding that.
Thank you, Coral. And so the whole goal is community-based conservation. And so when we can pull in community, then we can connect with the things that we care about the most. And it's with that connection we can inspire protection, I think. And that's definitely something that Jane Goodall stood for, and that's who we're going to commemorate today. She's on my shirt. She unfortunately passed away a week ago, but she was a trailblazer for conservation. We'll do a bit of an ode to her at the end. Well, great, guys. Thank you all so much for sharing. I just wanted to lastly comment a little bit about climate change and birds. I don't want to make this super doom and gloom. That's why I haven't, they don't want to talk about climate change. But the important thing to note about birds is that across the world, they're an indicator species for the health of the environment that we are in. So if you hear birds when you go outside, then that's a good thing. If you don't hear birds and there's silence on the landscape, that's an indicator of how poor the environment is doing. If birds are absent from the environment, then there's something very wrong. And we saw that in the 60s when Rachel Carson wrote A Silent Spring. And this was revolutionary for the Green Movement in the 70s that basically spurred a ton of environmental law, from the Endangered Species Act, the Air and Water Quality Act, Marine Mammal Protection Act. And it was a really powerful book that emphasized what happens when we have a silent spring. And right now we're seeing a huge decline in birds because it's very hard for them to adapt to such rapid changes in the climate, especially coastal birds. And a lot of coastal birds also bear the brunt of plastic pollution. So in the Pacific, we have a lot of problems with like the Pacific garbage patch and all of these like host of threats that birds face, right? And I just think the most important takeaway is not the statistics of the bird decline, because it's a dramatic decline. It's a little depressing, but the point of this is that if we can just get out and listen to them and hear them and know them, then we're already making a difference. Because in order to protect what we care about, we first have to know what these birds mean, their value, what they are, the different species. And once you open that door to the gateway of birding, then everything starts to come into play. Ever since I became a bird watcher, I start to notice so much more in my life around me when I walk outside. So just take your AirPods out, take your sunglasses off, open up to the birds, the sounds, and everything. And when we can connect with those animals, only then can we really be able to protect them from these things like climate change and plastic pollution and all of these catastrophic threats that a lot of coastal birds are unfortunately facing. And so when we can notice their presence on the landscape, then that's the first step in taking action for a better planet, for people, birds, and all walks of life, really.
Do you mind if I?
Yeah, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, just real quick, I know we want to wrap up here, but something in all of our podcast episodes or the past couple and moving forward, at the end we do anxiety into action. You know, some of these things are heavier topics, especially with Climate Week, just the climate decline, where we're at in our world. There's a lot of anxiety to be had, there's a lot of doom scrolling. And the antidote to anxiety is action. And so something that you guys did today, you've already done your action for today. You went on this beautiful bird walk, you saw some amazing birds, and sometimes that's just enough. Like, let that be enough.
That's enough.
And start tomorrow doing something else or doing the same thing and just enjoy nature. So.
And that's really what Jane wanted her message for the world that she left behind. It's that intrinsic connection that can really build the hope and the action. Hope is nothing without action, and if you're a fan of Jane, then you know that. Hope is grit on your face. It is the dirt under your nails. It is action that's like gritty action, right? And that can come when we spend time just rooting into the grass and coming together, really. And so I'm really appreciative that you guys all came today to come together for birds and climate and meditation and time in nature. it's just really so valuable. Thank you, Coral and Ava, for coming down today. They're members of our team, the Planet People team, and you guys are all part of the community now, so thanks for being here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
It's been so fun, really. Stay up to date with our newsletter, follow us on socials, we're on Instagram. You can find a lot of our updates there, and yeah, stay connected, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Planet People. We are thrilled to have you as part of our community of wildlifers who care about protecting the planet for future generations to enjoy.
We hope that by listening, you feel inspired to connect with nature and become a steward of the planet by getting involved and taking action with your local community conservation organizations. Until next time, stay positive, Planet People.
This episode was produced by Natalie Jean Sybil, Coral Carson, and Hugh Carr. Directed and edited by Coral Carson. Theme song by Hugh Carr under the artist name Flama. Thank you, team.